And we're back with video number 4. So far we have data coming out of this unit and displaying it on the phone via Bluetooth using the HM11. Now we're going to send data from the phone to the unit, and the unit's going to send it right back to the phone as a way of verification that the data is coming across, going both ways. So let's get to it. This is the code where we left off on the last video. For this to work and moving forward, we are going to be doing C++ classes. So we are going to add just a file structure to handle C++ classes. Right now we're doing it in C. You can see this file, the extension is .c. That's for just regular C programming language. We want CPP file extensions. So the way we do this is we right click on the project, go to new, and select source folder. Here we enter the folder name. It's gonna be CPP, and inside the folder we add 2 regular folders. One is gonna be named INC for includes or .h files, and the other one is gonna be for source files or CPP files. So we add another regular folder and we name it SRC. And inside our SRC, well, actually, yeah, there's another setting, but we'll make the change when we get to it. In SRC, we are adding our first CPP file, which is going to be a source file, and this is going to be the main file where the main loop is going to be. We're calling this main CPP.cpp. The extension is required. There it is. We have an empty file. At a minimum, we need to include the main H file so we have access to the C code we have in main. We also need a function where we will have our main loop. So this will be our main loop, and we need to call this function from the C file, and instead of executing this loop, we are going to execute the new file, the new loop. So it'll never get to this because it's gonna get stuck on this one. Now for this to work, we need to add it to main H at the very bottom where it says user code begin function prototypes. It doesn't have to be here, it can be anywhere in the file, but you know, might as well follow the comments. Okay, so that's it. If I run it, these messages are going to stop because it's gonna go to this main loop and we're not doing anything here. So let's blink the green LED just so we can see that something's happening. GPIO toggle port LED green pin, and let's add a delay of 1/10 of a second. Let's run it. So we're gonna stop getting messages, but we're gonna get a blinking LED instead, 5 times a second. So let's see, it's downloading. So this stopped receiving data, and now we have the blinking LED. You can see that. Okay. Now let's set up the code to receive data from the iPhone. So for that, we need a few variables. First, we need a flag to see if we have a new message. I'm gonna set it to 0. We also need a buffer 50 characters long. It can be longer, shorter, depends on what you're trying to accomplish. We also need a way to, let's name them the same, to keep track of how many characters we've received of the new message. So I guess buffer count or character count equals 0. And we also need, so we have new message. We also need another buffer, and this is just going to be called message 50. So this is where our new message is going to reside. The buffer is going to be where we're going to be putting every new character we get. Once we identify a full new message, we can move it into this buffer, and then we can access it. Now so we're going to create a function, the function that is going to capture one character at a time, and this one's going to be called rx, let's call it chart, and it's going to be a character. Here we check to see if our current buffer, sorry, not that, we're going to check to see if the current character we're getting is equals to carries return, or next line, or C equals line feed, or if our character count is more or equals to 50. Then if any of those are true, we can safely assume that we have a full message, so we can move the whenever we have in buffer into rx message. So we get buffer, and we reset memset rx buffer 050. So we're gonna fill it up with zeros. Our buffer, because we transferred the message, we don't need it anymore. We reset the character count back to 0, and we set the flag new message equals to 1. Else, if none of these ones are true, then we just capture the next character, and we save it in rx buffer. So we're gonna rx character count, we increment it by 1. So we start at 0, and we can keep moving it up until we get to 50, or one of those, either a new line or a carriage return is found, and this is just going to be C. And in this function, what we want to do is we want to check to see if inside the loop, we're going to check to see whenever we get a new message, we're going to send it back to the phone. So if rx new message is equals to 1, that means we have a new message. So rx new message equals to 0, and then we're going to say log back to you, that's what we're going to call it, and then we send the message to the phone, or back to the phone, right? And this is rx message, so that's it. Now we need a way to call this this function whenever a new character comes in. So first we need to move this, or copy the function, the prototype, to main.c. We also need to bring here the callback for when we receive a message. This one is for when we send a message. Now we need the one for when we receive a character. So we go back to this UART, and I already have it selected here. This is the RX for receive callback, and this one is called every time there's a character coming in. So we're gonna capture one character at a time. So we're gonna do it like this. We also need, before we do this, we need another variable, and this one's gonna be a buffer. This one's gonna be rxc of 1, and we need to copy whatever characters coming in into a local variable. So it's going to be rxc0, and we need to send it. Save. So rx, there it goes. That's the function we have on the cpp main, or main cpp function or file. And then we need to say, okay, so we got the first character, let's get the next one. So UART receive, and the IT means interrupt, so that's the one we're getting. We're just gonna wait for the next character to come in, RxC, and the size, we're gonna wait for one character, and since we get one, it'll return. We also need to copy this. We need to call it at least once at the beginning to start waiting for characters to come in, and then once we get the first one, it'll automatically call itself again to get the next character. So it's just an endless loop of receiving data. So that's that's it for this. We don't need this code. Don't need this code because it's never gonna get called. It's gonna go to main and it's gonna get stuck there. So if we compile now, we should get some errors on main CPP because we need to include header files. So we're missing a header file for printf and also memset. This one's complaining about something, but we'll come and get this once we fix this two at the top. So to take care of this printf, we include stdio -h, and for the memset, string h. Let's compile again. I'm pressing Control B to compile the code. We still have two errors, so let's go with this one. And this one is complaining. It says the log was not defined. All right, so this function resides in the main file. It's right here. Right, so we need to tell our C++ code that this is an external function to C++ and it resides in C. And the way we do that is we specify this and we put the prototype here, and that's it. Let's compile again. Should be no errors. Good, right? So let's run it. And actually I'm gonna get this out, and I'm only gonna toggle the light whenever we get a message. Yeah, so let's get this out, compile it again and download it. So now we need a way to send data from the phone into the unit here. So we are going to add a button, and when we press the button, we want to send we'll just send a message that says phone, and it's gonna have, oh no, that's not the one. Yeah, phone. Default value, oh, sorry. So we'll just send the 1, or actually let's send on, and the field name will be phone. I know it doesn't make sense right now, but you'll see it. It'll have a delimiter, that delimiter colon. So we'll click OK, when we press start, we should see the message here, but we're also going to see it coming back with this message saying back to you. So when we tap it, it went in, right? So we got the message on the phone every time we press it. It came here, but we never saw it coming back. So that other message is not coming back. We need to figure out why. Also, this thing that I put here, that's not the right place to put it. It was supposed to be here, so it'll be phone, and let's put on. So now when we press it, we'll see phone on. Alright, so now let's see why we are not seeing that data. What is the issue here? Alright, so what's the problem? Well, here in this code, let's see what happens here. Actually, it might be on this one when we receive the character. So we're checking this, any of that, and we get that info. Right, nothing there. Alright, so the issue is that we're not sending a carriage return. The phone requires it in order to display the data. So we're going to see the previous messages once we run this, because as soon as it gets the \R, it knows that it's a full message and it'll display it on the phone. So let's switch back to that. Let's press start, and now we get back to you, and it says click 1 back to you, click 1 back to you, click. Those are the old messages, as you can see, and eventually we'll get to the phone on. So those are all the messages that had come in. So now every time I press it, let me move this a little, every time I press it, you'll see phone on, right? So that's the message. Let me make it slightly smaller. So those are the messages. So if I press it again, it says phone on, right? We want to increase add a counter just so we can see that it's not the same message. We'll just add one counter here, set it to 0, and we'll put it at the end of the message, put a D there, and put counter ++. Let's download it to the phone again. Alright, so that's the code we added, this counter, and then we added this and this. Okay, so now when I press start, you can see there's a value at the end, right? Keeps increasing it every time I tap it. So on line 181, or the second to the last, is the message going to my unit, and the one at the bottom, the very last one, is the message coming back. So it's just saying back to you and resending the data back to me. So that's it. On the next video, we are going to do a full C++ classes, because we need to do real communications with the phone, and then real communications to the NRF using SPI, and also we need to connect to the gyroscope using I2C. So we'll start with serial communication, so we can connect and parse the messages correctly, so we can see any settings coming in. We can change them on the fly from the phone. So until next video, enjoy.